Private Chatterer, you are a disgrace to the recruitment process.
I'm sorry, I've been a bit busy.
How many reading sprints have you taken part in?
0, ma'am.
0. And how many books have you read for the Readathon?
0 again, ma'am. I'm sorry, I do want to take part, I really do. I've just... What can I do to make it up to you?
Well, the Bootcamp reading tag.
Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and everyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what on earth is going on, or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chatty, this is my channel, Chatty's Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting to you madly about the Bootcamp Readathon tag, which is an original tag created by Courtney from Tangible Reeves, who in the month of January is doing the Bootcamp Readathon, and has asked me, along with 11 other fabulous people, to be a co-host. All of the links and descriptions and the channel links for those fabulous people will be in the description box, so do go and check them all out. There'll be lots of content coming from them. They will be sprinting. They have been much more proactive than me, and there are also their TBRs and their versions of this tag as well, so do go and check all of those out. So on this channel, I don't edit, so that was quite a complicated opening for me. I had to redo it several times, so we are all in now because I'm not doing that again. I have a very small amount of time to film this, so I'm going to see if I can actually whiz through a tag. I usually cannot. I cannot stop talking. So let's try this. One shot, no editing. Clink, 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 clink. I'm actually filming, this is not a usual background I have, I'm actually filming in my children's room because we have just got 2 new guinea pigs who are very scared. So I didn't want to be doing it in the main area of the house and freaking them out by talking loudly and other such things. So I'm sat on a squodgy beanbag. So it's not the best camera angle, but the lighting is great in here. So let's just crack on with it. So the first prompt for the Bootcamp tag is Dumbell, the most ridiculous book you have ever read. So I'm going to do a few for this. So one is most ridiculous book, as in it should not be published, it should not be out, it's so stupid. And that is Pride, Prejudice and Zombies. I don't know who wrote it, I don't really care. I originally was really excited about this book. I loved the front cover. I thought it was really clever, where you'd got the typical Pride and Prejudice cover of the portrait of the Regency area and then there's like a zombified face, and I thought it was going to be a really fun like spoof. Nothing was done to the story. It is the exact text of Pride and Prejudice, except they throw zombie and zombie attacks in it and make a few jokes about balls. Stupid. The best parts of that book were written by Jane Austen. What a wonderful money-making scam someone came up with there, but terrible book. Utterly ridiculous. Then I have 2 books that are ridiculous in a good way, because I do love ridiculous and silly and zany. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Neil Gaiman, Fortunately, The Milk. This is a middle grade book. It's a sci-fi. It is about a father who has been left for the weekend with his 2 children and they have run out of milk. And so he goes to the corner shop to get the milk, but every time he comes back, he doesn't have the milk and has a wonderful reason why he does not have the milk. So we follow his adventures. And what I really love about this book is, apart from it being completely insane and illustrated by Chris Reveille, who is a wonderful illustrator. I absolutely love his pictures. It does have a wonderful age-appropriate grasp of the use of time travel in a book and kind of like how those events can kind of link back and come back to you. I think it's brilliant. I definitely am due a reread of this and want to reread it with my children as well, because I think it's superb. Another book that I do read regularly with my children and is a favourite of mine and my mum's natter, and that is a John Klassen, who I think I've been speaking about a lot on this channel, but John Klassen's picture book, The Rock That Fell from the Sky. The Rock from the Sky. So John Klassen is an illustrator. He does beautiful illustrations. I'm going to link you to a video done by Jack from Spread Book Joy, who did a wonderful book about John Klassen called The Skull, who goes into his art style much more detailedly. So just in case you you are visually impaired and can't see what I'm talking about, she will explain it in a much better way than I can. So on the first page, we have a landscape of sky and a little flower and the grass, and then when it says the rock, then we have a little tortoise who talks about that, I like standing in this spot. It is my favourite spot to stand in. And it kind of goes on like that, and then it is interspersed with this picture where we have a sky with a rock falling, and just animals talking about that they have a bad feeling and they don't have a bad feeling and they're going to choose another spot. And it's just ridiculous but adorable at the same time, and I really love it. Okay, prompt 2 is the wrong notes, the right notes. Prompt 2 is Hummer. Talk about someone you know in the military. So the person in who is a bit of a hero in our family is my paternal grandfather. So we mainly come from kind of like, from my dad's side, like a line of teachers, and from my mum's side, a line of farmers. But my my granddad served in the 1930s and 40s in the army for the Royal Engineers, and during the Second World War he was in the bomb disposal unit, and they diffused bombs that fell all over London if they were unexploded, and so they would go to these places and they would diffuse them. He was in Portsmouth quite a lot, and so my family kind of moved around with him. So my dad was taken by my grandma and his older sister like to the different bases kind of where they were. So they were never evacuated, they were kind of going into sort of more danger zones because they wanted the family to kind of be together. And there's some fantastic stories about what my granddad did with his unit. One of which was that he was driving a car with an unexploded bomb in it to take it somewhere, and a lady hitchhiked, like an old lady hitchhiked, and she was alone by herself. It was quite deserted, so my granddad just took her in the car and thought, I'm just not going to mention there's an unexploded bomb in the car, because if it goes off we'll both die and no one will know. Anyway, it did not go off. He was able to drop her off, take the bomb to where it needed to be to safely to get rid of it. And that was in a magazine story, and my dad has that. He has his medals, he's got a picture of him with his unit. We have a fuse that is kind of like shown around the different parts of the family. So yes, that is Hummer. A person in your family, and he has the best name ever. So my granddad's name is Brompton Hooker Price. So that is my granddad's name, Brompton Price. Okay, prompt 3 is Class A, the most graphic book you have ever read. So again, I have 2. So the first one was Monstrous, a graphic novel, volume 1, and it was so graphic I had to DNF it because it just upset me. So there was just this one scene where there were some characters that I was fond of, and then like things were happening and it was clearly depicted in the art style, and it just made me freak out a bit. So I just found it too much for me to handle because of these cute characters and these less like, it was very scary in the art space. So I couldn't continue reading the Monstrous series. One that I did manage to read, which is also quite graphic, both in terms of violence, but also in terms of like taking you to that space. And that is The Faithful and the Fallen Quartet by John Gwynne. I have got Malice, the first book here, and Wrath, the final book in that quartet. And what I really love about John Gwynne is that you really feel that you are there at the scene. This is very battle heavy, but there's a lot of character development, there's a lot of love in here. But it is very graphic in terms of the brutality that happens in this book, but also the fight scenes are very graphic. You really feel like you're there, you see it from different angles, it's really easy to follow. I think sometimes fight scenes can kind of go over my head a little bit, but these ones are just done expertly. Okay, prompt number 4 is Burpee, the most challenging book by a BIPOC author. So I again have 2, but for different reasons. So I have a book that was emotionally challenging, and that is Beloved by Toni Morrison. So many emotions for this book. It was very hard. There is a lot of sort of historical horror in this book of the atrocities that happened during the years of Black people being enslaved on the plantations. And just kind of how like utterly stripping away humanity that experience was, and how atrocious it was, to the extent of what the characters did to save the ones they loved in here. And so because of that, it felt incredibly challenging in terms of all the emotions for me, and but it was definitely worth the read for me, and it was I need to read more Toni Morrison. I still haven't read any more, but I need to. But I just need to be ready because I know she's going to destroy me. Mentally challenging in terms of it being a more complicated text than what I would usually have is the non-fiction Black on Both Sides, which is a racial history of trans identity by C. Riley Snorton. This is very much more like an academic textbook, but I'm really interested in the subject matter, and I really love the introduction when I read it, but it's one I'm really going to have to take my time with, but be continuously reading. Like, I can't put it down and pick up something else. I'm going to have to be like reading it each day to really understand it. So it will be happening. I just wasn't in the right place for it, but it's going to be challenging, but again, worth the challenge. Prompt 5 is Pull Up. What is the biggest book ever read? I realise I don't have them here because I'm not sure which one it is yet, but it is either The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, Anna Karenina by Leon Tolstoy, or it is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. So I'm just quickly going to go see which one is the biggest book that I've ever read. So surprisingly, Anna Karenina is shorter than I thought. She is only 800 pages. Then second, coming in at 1,706, is Pillars of the Earth, which means Oathbringer, which is a whopping 1,200 and something, is the biggest book I have ever read. And actually, I plan to be using this as one of my prompts for the readathon. This is my Hummer prompt for military personnel because I really, really want to reread this book. So there we go. Right, what is our next prompt? It is the shortest. So I'm not including picture books in this because I'd have to justify trying to find the shortest one. So novels, a middle grade novel, which was, I think it was like, was it 85 pages or something like that? It was very small. It was The Witch's Brat by Rosemary Sutcliffe. And that is a historical fiction about a boy who was raised by a herbalist who was pointed out to be a witch, and he has physical disfigurement and was run out of town, and it's kind of about what his after his foster mother died, or his grandma, I can't quite remember. I've only read it recently, but that was a really, really lovely book. I love Rosemary Sutcliffe's historical fiction. I'm also realizing that I have absolutely sunk into this beanbag and you can barely see me. So it's this little tiny head popping up. So there we go. There's a little bit more of me there. That was the shortest book. Another short book I have is a novella, which is 140 pages, and that is The Haunting of Tramcar 015 by P. Jelly Clark. I love this book. It's another book that I really, really, really want to do a reread for. It's a really fun, like supernatural fantasy mystery with a beautiful double act of police detectives who really complement each other so well, and it is set in like ancient Cairo. Okay, class 6, a picture from your childhood. I cannot insert a picture here, and it's not great with showing a photograph. So what I'm going to do is go and look at my community tab, and I will put a picture from my childhood of me in there for you to look at. So that's that one. If you are visually impaired, then just imagine whatever you think I am, whatever you think I look like, as a very small child and with a mop cap on. There we go. Reveille is my favourite prompt in this tag, which is Summarise a random book. Summarise the first page of a random book. So I randomised my books, and the one I got was Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. So I'm going to have a quick look at the first page and summarise it for you now, and I just feel this will be highly entertaining. So we start off in the beginning, and so I'm going straight in with the very first page. So not the foreword, it's definitely the first page, and it is the sort of the prologue in the beginning. So in a summary of this first page, two protagonists are of the book, Ezra and Cowley, are put into are in Genesis. It's the retelling of the creation. It makes an amusing comment about they've not yet had rain, but the serpent has been making up trouble, stirring the pot, and they're talking about that maybe it was a bit of an overreaction. What's the ultimate game plan going on here? And And so it's two people from good and evil on both sides just having a chat about things, and it's hilarious. There we go. So the next prompt is do 20 squats. It's a squats prompt. Right, so are we ready? I'm going to do 20 squats. I will do them, but I really wanted to do them in a more amusing way, but I can't do it right now because I really have to go. So there's not enough time because I don't know how long it's going to take. So I'm going to do 20 squats, but I am going to do another 20 squats. I'll make a short, and I will play my silly little game, book related, for my 20 squats. So, okay, ready? Okay, let's make some space. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, taking longer than I thought. Glad I didn't do it. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I feel the burn, and 20. Oh, Courtney, what are you doing to us? Right, okay, I've also committed to doing a short where I do an amusing book game with the 20 squats. And finally, our last prompt, number 10, is to, the sprint is to tag unknown booktubers. Check out 2 of their videos and subscribe to them. So here are my other notes. I'm really out of puff now. So I actually entertainingly found these booktubers through basically following chat in their comments, and it led me to other. I really wanted to pick some like booktubers who have only recently been on BookTube, so I went searching. So the first one is Allie from the channel Allie B. So she is a fantasy and a romance reader. She also reads a bit of contemporary fiction. She started BookTube 4 weeks ago. She's an American living in Scotland, which she dubs the Land of Stories, which I love. She's got 70 subscribers, so go on and check her videos out. She's also an illustrator, which I think will be really, really fun to learn more about. So pop along to her channel, you do a little subscribe, have a little chat, do a little like and a wave. And in her comments, I found Erin. So this is Erin from the channel Erin. She is, oh, sorry, I'm so out of breath. This is ridiculous. She has got 50 subscribers, recently started the channel as well. She has got a really calm and thoughtful vibe to her channel. She also loves plants and a few other kind of crafty things. She's a business owner, and she has recently been diagnosed as neurodivergent, and she would like to create a space where she doesn't have to mask who she is and she can build up a community. She's also got a video on deconstructing intense religion. She spent 10 years in a community, so that is also very close to her heart as well, like exploring her faith and talking about that as well. She has started to pick up fiction, but she's mainly a non-fiction reader. She's read a few classics and memoirs. So go along to her channel as well. Give her a like, do a subscribe, and have a little chat with her. And finally, so in Erin's video, I then found Ezra. So Ezra from the channel Ezra with the Books. She has got 36 subscribers so far. Ezra is very charismatic. She has got a child and dogs, so there is a lot of chaos going on in her videos sometimes, which I really enjoy. She reads horror, fantasy, mystery and thrillers, and perfectly for this tag, she's also in the military. She is very open with when life is lifing, which is a quote from her, which I thought was marvellous, how it affects her reading and her motivation for doing things, which is something she really wants to fight against. All 3 of these booktubers really want to get more involved in the booktube community, so go and welcome them and help them to be part of it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have got this far, do a sweaty face emoji. I hope you're having a wonderful time reading. Don't beat yourself up if you have not, like me, managed to get in plans. That was just a fun little skit for the beginning of this video, but there is no shame in having not read anything yet, or having joined any sprints or done any exercise or anything you've wanted to do. Do it when you feel you can, but you will feel better once you do. So good luck to all of you and happy reading.